I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff. You can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns.
What about the Second Amendment?
You can't walk in with guns. You can't do that.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
Look, let's just be honest and stop the bullshit. This is a pro-ICE versus anti-ICE masquerading as a gun issue. They're using the gun as a proxy to have that fight, and I'm not here for that. I'm a Second Amendment advocate, and that's what I do. That's the lane that I stay in. So I'm going to talk to you about this from a two-way perspective because that's the part people are lying about, including people on both sides. Now, let me address something that pissed me off recently about this whole situation. The immediate reaction from leadership, including from Trump.
Do you agree with the assessment from some of your own officials that Alex Pretti is a domestic terrorist or an assassin?
Well, I haven't heard that, but certainly he shouldn't have been carrying a gun. But hey, look, bottom line, everybody in this room, we view that as a very unfortunate incident, okay? Everyone, unless you're a stupid person, very, very unfortunate incident. I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff. And despite that, I say that's a very unfortunate.
What do you think of some Republicans saying?
Sir, was Mr. Pretti acting as an assassin? Do you think he was acting as an assassin in Minneapolis?
Who is that?
Mr. Pretti, your deputy chief of staff said that. You don't think so?
With that being said, you know, he can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns.
What about the Second Amendment?
You can't walk in with guns. You can't do that. But it's just a very unfortunate incident.
What about the Second Amendment, sir?
That is anti-gun bullshit. And yes, I'm going to say this plainly and honestly. I'm embarrassed. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing because I've defended Trump from a two-way perspective. So yeah, hearing that shit is embarrassing. But here's where I refuse to be dishonest. I don't judge politicians solely by what they say. I judge them by what they do. Trump could get on TV tomorrow, rip the Constitution in half, wipe his ass with the Second Amendment, and spit on it and scream F2A at the top of his lungs. I don't care. What matters is what has he actually done? And action-wise, the Second Amendment has never been more protected than it is right now. That's not an opinion. That's just fact. If not for the judges he appointed, states like New York and California would not even be having conversations about how to comply with concealed carry rulings right now. They'd still be telling you to go F yourself. Gun sales are down, not because people don't like guns, but because people don't feel like their rights are about to be erased overnight like they do when the Democrats are in office. They'll say the same shit Trump said and then actively try to pass legislation against the Second Amendment. Trump says some off-the-wall shit, but his actions do something else. He may not even like the Second Amendment, but because the people do, he has to do what the people want. I can't think of anything more American than that. You want to know the biggest endorsement of the Second Amendment? A system where even the president who says dumb shit about guns.
I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff.
Cannot unilaterally destroy the right even if he wanted to because the Constitution, the courts, and the structure of the country won't allow it. That's the power of the Second Amendment. So yeah, I'll take the embarrassment of stupid rhetoric as long as the actions continue to protect the right, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. Now, the first question, simple question. Was this man legally allowed to carry a firearm? Yes. Under Minnesota law, he was legally allowed to carry a firearm. He was legally allowed to bring that firearm to a protest. Minnesota statute 624.7142 does not prohibit carrying a firearm at a protest. That part is not debatable. Was it smart to bring a gun to a protest where you know tensions are high and federal agents are present and put yourself in the middle of an interaction? I wouldn't do that shit. But whether something is smart and whether something is legal are two completely different conversations, and people keep collapsing them on purpose. Now, let me say this clearly because this is the core 2A issue. Simply having a firearm on you does not make you a criminal. Simply having 2 magazines does not make you a criminal. It does not mean you're planning a mass shooting. For Christ's sakes, you got people in the gun industry who would literally say, if you don't carry a spare mag, you're doing it wrong. Nothing about his behavior gave me mass shooter vibes. Nothing about his demeanor gave me aggressor. And honestly, the license argument doesn't even matter as much as people think it does. Yes, we know he had a license, but even if we didn't know that in the moment, simply possessing a firearm does not automatically turn you into a criminal. Besides, They weren't restraining him because he had a gun. They didn't even know he had a gun until he was on the ground. You may not like the fact that he was protesting ICE. That still does not strip him of his Second Amendment rights any more than if someone who is pro-ICE went to protest against the protesters while carrying their gun. The Second Amendment is for everybody, not just people you agree with, not just people who vote like you, not just people who make you comfortable. If your belief in the Second Amendment disappears the second the person carrying a gun isn't on your team, then do you actually believe in the Second Amendment? Now, let's talk about what actually happened in the video. From what I saw, it looked like he was filming two women who were actively agitating the officer, blowing whistles, getting in his face, escalating the situation. From my perspective, it looked like documentation, not participation. I don't know if he told them to stop. I don't know if he tried to de-escalate verbally. All I can tell you is what it looked like to me from the footage. And yes, those whistles were annoying as hell. They annoyed me just watching the video. But annoyance is not illegality. Blowing whistles is actually protected speech under the First Amendment. At the same time, I also saw the agent pushing one of the women to the ground. Was that legally justified? Was she under arrest? Was he enforcing something specific? I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend I know just to make people feel better. Now, the dynamic clearly changed when the guy stepped between the agent and the woman after she went down. Do I think he was trying to be malicious? It looked to me like he was just trying to protect someone who had just fallen. Did that decision introduce risk, especially while he was armed? Yes, absolutely. And here's where the two-way reality kicks in. You have a right to protest. You have a right to carry a firearm, even at a protest. Protests can turn violent. You still have to get back to your car. You still have to go home, all that shit. You're not any more safer at a protest. If I were protesting something, chances are I'd be carrying too, because I can legally do that. But I'm not going to engage federal agents while they're working. And I'm definitely not stepping between a federal agent while he's actively pushing someone else. That agent doesn't know me or my intentions. So I'm not risking that. When I carry a gun, I have two personalities, Pussy and John Wick. I'm the most passive person in the world when I'm carrying a gun. But if someone is trying to kill me or someone I love, you get to meet John Wick. When you carry a gun, you are held to a higher standard. Not morally, practically. The same way federal agents are held to a higher standard because they are armed and empowered by the government. That's not favoritism. That is responsibility. Now let's get back to the incident itself. This shooting looks fucking bad and dripping in negligence.
Now we'll slow things down so each moment is clear. Here is Pretti. Several agents are restraining him, and this is the Border Patrol agent who will shoot him first. This appears to be when agents first notice that Pretti is carrying a firearm and yell that he has a gun. Watching the same moment from a different angle, the agent who first pepper sprayed Pretti beats him several times with the spray canister. We can see that both of Pretti's arms are pinned down by his head. This agent in gray reaches to remove Pretti's weapon from his hip. As this agent unholsters his gun, nudges the agent in gray out of the way, and fires. Let's rewind and focus on the agent who shoots first. Just seconds before he fired, he was facing away from Pretti and focusing on an entirely different situation as he tries to spray a nearby woman with an irritant. The spray appears to malfunction and the agent turns as he adjusts it. That's when someone yells that Pretti has a gun. And around 5 seconds after fully turning his attention toward Pretti, the agent draws his weapon and shoots. His arm visibly recoils at the first shot. The firearm has clearly been removed from the scrum when the first shots are fired toward Pretti at close range. The officer who disarmed Pretti can be seen reacting to the sound of the first shot, looking back toward the skirmish. The shooter was standing behind Pretti and not under direct threat, contradicting statements from Homeland Security officials that he fired defensive shots. He also has a vantage point to see the gun pulled from the scene, but it's unclear if he did, and whether he thought a weapon was still on Pretti. He then fires 3 more shots from behind Pretti, whose arms are down as he appears to brace himself against the pavement. In one hand, he still holds his phone, and in his other, his glasses. The agent in gray who removed Pretti's gun carries it across the street. Pretti is disarmed and falling to the ground. But the agent who first pepper sprayed Pretti and later beat him with a canister also pulls out his gun. From a distance, despite the fact that Pretti is lying motionless on the ground, these two agents fire 6 more shots. Neither is under threat. In total, the agents fire 10 shots in 5 seconds.
The real questions are, who caused it? And why did the shooting continue afterwards? There are 2 plausible scenarios. 1, an officer draws under stress, finger on the trigger, cold conditions, movement during a struggle, and negligently discharged the gun. 2, an officer disarms him, moves away with the firearm, and then negligently discharges it while trying to secure it. Those 2 scenarios lead to very different conclusions. If the first shot came from the officer moving away with the gun, it's still negligence. But maybe they can argue how other agents might believe that lethal force was being used against them and they just reacted. Still negligent, but if the first shot came from the officer with his finger on the trigger and he knew it was a negligent discharge and then continued firing, at that point, we're no longer just talking about negligence. We're talking about something fundamentally different. And this is where the law matters, not vibes, not politics. Under Graham v. Connor and Tennessee v. Garner, deadly force is judged under the 4th Amendment's objective reasonableness standard. Officer by officer, second by second. A gun existing is not the same thing as a gun being a threat. A holstered firearm, once removed and controlled, changes the legal math immediately. Another officer yelling gun or even an accidental discharge does not automatically authorize everyone in the scene to open fire. That's not my opinion, that's just law. Until we know, 1, who fired the first shot, whether it was negligent, and what each officer actually perceived, I'm not gonna pretend certainty. All I can give you are contingencies. If this, then that. If not this, then something else. And I refuse to let this get hijacked into an ICE debate. I'm talking about guns. I'm talking about rights. I'm talking about constitutional consistency. From that perspective, here's where I land. He did not lose his right because of his politics. He did not lose his rights because of where he protested. He did not lose his rights because he carried a gun. But bad decisions, bad training, bad reactions, and bad assumptions stacked on top of each other one by one, and someone ended up dead. None of this shit looks good. Not the agitation, not the interference, not the anti-gun rhetoric, not the negligent discharge, not the follow-up shots, not the rush to tribalism. And if that doesn't bother you, no matter what side you're on, something is wrong.
One thing's for certain and 2 things are for sure. Politicians and tech giants don't want gun content to be recommended to you. And we're all fighting this culture war together. Now, you can help do your part by liking, commenting, subscribing to the channel, but most importantly, sharing this video with at least 1 person. Together, we can stop the suppression of our 2A rights. And don't forget to click the link in the description section of this video for the products that I mentioned in this video.